Asalaumualaikum guys, welcome back to my channel. I pray that you are all in the best of health and iman. If you are new, welcome. My name is Nafisa. I am a Muslimah, relationship and mental health coach. So if you're interested in being coached in those areas, you can find me over on my website, which I will leave linked in the description box down below. But over here on YouTube, I make Islamic lifestyle as well as dawah content. So if you're interested in that, definitely make sure you subscribe. Okay, I also have a Patreon where I share with women everything to do with womanhood, preparing for marriage before you get the ring, and also being more feminine. So everything to do with femininity development. So definitely check me out on Patreon as well. So in today's video, my brothers are gonna love today's video. And the sisters who want to admit they got issues, they're going to be like, Nafisa, I think I've got some work to do. Yes, sis, I want you to do the work that you need to do on yourself. Because at the end of the day, we all want to have successful relationships where, yes, there's going to be down times, but we want to do our best because we value peace. Because I don't know about you, but me, sis, I value my peace. And I'm going to do my part as far as the woman to make sure that I contribute to peace in my relationships. So if your relationship is a little bit rocky, maybe watch this video, and if there's one or two things you need to fix, then fix it. We can't expect other people to always be the ones that need to work on relationships so it can work. Maybe sometimes we are the ones that need to put in the work. So in any case, let's begin today's video, inshallah. You may not be paying much importance to his feelings, his thoughts, and his expressions. This man has been telling you this particular thing that you're doing is not good. He doesn't like it. It makes him feel X kind of a way. And you have been completely ignoring it. You're not listening to him. Why? Because you're not valuing, or you're not showing that you value what affects how he feels also. A lot of the time, ironically, this is something that us women value a lot. We value that when we say to our spouses, to our husbands, I don't like this isn't working for me, this isn't good, we expect them to hear us and put it into practice. Like to either stop doing that behavior or do what works. And when we don't get that, we begin to feel hurt. But ironically, sometimes this is also what we do to our spouses. Next time your husband is talking to you, actually listen to him. As in, process what he's saying to you and try to pick out, okay, let me try to do something about this. Because you don't want the time where you actually sit back and have time to think about it. You don't want it to be the time where he's already divorced you. Or the time where he's already finding another woman somewhere else. Do something about it now. If you're not respecting his views, his thoughts, his contributions, the things he's saying to you, how he's responding to certain things, if you're not taking a hint or you're not even listening to the things he's directly saying to you are hurtful to him, then you are not listening. Another sign that you're not listening to your husband is you constantly interrupt. Constant interruption can be taken very much so as a sign of rudeness, because effective communication is about collaboration. It's about taking turns. Again, I expand more on that on my Patreon for my sisters who are working on their femininity. If you don't have that, you have your turn to speak, but then you don't allow him his chance to speak. That's not listening. That's not listening. So please, sisters, these two things alone, I think I've already spoken a lot on just these two things alone as things for you to potentially work on. If you're not doing those things and your husband keeps saying to you, you don't listen, he might mean you're not doing one of those two things. Either you don't value the things that he's saying to you aren't working and you're not doing anything to change it, or you don't listen and you constantly interrupt. It's rude to constantly, I'm not saying you can't have a say. Effective communication, join my Patreon. I teach over there about how to do it. If a person is saying to you, I'm not feeling listened to, you're not listening to me, you may be doing one of these two things or even more things than this. The second sign that you are disrespectful to your husband is using rude language. I know. Some of you guys are like, he uses rude language on me all the time. I know, it still doesn't make it right. If he is also doing all of these behaviors, it's also wrong. Like, it's also wrong. But if you're doing it as well, it's also wrong, sis. I know how it makes you feel. And sometimes you might feel like, just to get back at him, I'm going to say something really hurtful as well. But that's rude. It's rude. Sometimes over familiarity is the problem in our relationships, because we get so comfortable, we forget that we're actually meant to respect our spouse. The same way we respect people outside, we're meant to respect our spouses like that, at least. Personally, I would say you should respect your spouse even more. You should respect your husband even more than what you would respect people outside, because at the end of the day, if he is a responsible man, and generally a good man, and he goes out, he works hard to feed you and your kids, the children that you have together, or maybe just you, and take care of your family and your home, and he's good enough to be faithful. Like, do you know how hard it is for men to be faithful these days? But if you have a man that loves you enough, cares enough about the peace in his home to remain faithful, I know it's what he's meant to do anyway. I can hear some women are saying, he's supposed to be faithful anyway, am I supposed to be jumping for joy for that? In this day and age, actually, yeah, you should be jumping joy for that. If he treats you well generally, be careful not to use hurtful words when you're having your back and forth. Please, just try. That he is doing the wrong thing doesn't mean that you should also join him in this road of doing the wrong thing, because at the end of the day, if you insult him, it's also going in your books of record. So it's not like he's the only one that's going to get sin. You are also going to get sin for using bad words over to your husband. So please, if your husband does something you don't like, I'm not saying you should just swallow it, because this swallowing, it would build resentment, and one day that resentment will lead to one little thing and the marriage will be over, because after 20 years you'll be absolutely fed up of swallowing things all of the time. Express it in a healthy way. Express it when things are calmer. You're not that person that's going to insult your husband. No matter what, at least you can have enough integrity to say, look, been married X number of years, I've never insulted my husband. It will be something to be proud of. And it will be something that he will also notice, because when he goes, if he ever has other relationships with other women, he will always know that my wife, she never goes that low with me. But I think it's a decision you have to consciously make for yourself, to say, even when things are bad, I'm going to hold my cool. If I can't take it, I will put my boundaries into place. Don't get it twisted. But I'm not going to allow you to get me into a place where I'm going to have to cuss you out. If you're cussing your husband out on a regular basis, you have issues of over-familiarity. And because he does it, it's not an excuse for you to do it either. It needs to stop. It is a sign of being disrespectful, period. The third sign that you are being disrespectful to your husband, I've mentioned it before, but I'll clarify it here. You continue to do the things they tell you they don't like. Again, it comes down to, I don't care how you feel, I don't care what you like, I don't care what makes you feel okay. The irony again is, us women want men to treat us well. But when we treat them back in this way, the message we send also is that we don't care. And the more you're doing that, and then he's also hitting his back, you're going back and forth. Two wrongs can never make a right. Sometimes you can't allow people with their toxic behaviors to influence who you become. If it just becomes too much for you, sis, you make your decision. And if you need to check out, you check out. It's not by force. Don't let someone turn you into something that you are not, something you don't want to be, somebody you don't want to be. Because the more you practice all these disrespectful ways, you might think I'm only doing it because of him. He is my trigger. Okay. But when you get too used to it, you'll be surprised. One day you'll marry a good man and you'll still behave in the exact same way. Why? Because you're used to it. It's now become a habit. It gets ingrained in you because you do it so often, it becomes part of who you are, and the second you're triggered, boom, you react in that way. And then you sit there thinking, I really don't mean it, I don't want to be this person, why am I behaving like this? Because it became a habit, so it became part of your instant reactions. So what I'm saying to you is, deep inside, the person you are needs to be different. You have to respond differently. And you have to understand that you can choose how you respond. A lot of us say, I can't control it, I can't control it. But to a large degree, we can choose how we respond. We can. We can. And it doesn't make you weak that you don't cuss people out, that you give people a chance to say what they want to say, that you listen to people and you care. That does not make you weak. If that is done with a good intention, of the fear of Allah, of the love of Allah, of the need to please Allah, of you avoiding to have sins also written in your book because of what that person is doing, if you put all of that forefront, you will do your best. So at the end of the day, Allah can bear you witness that you did your best in that relationship. Because at the end of the day, that's why we're here on this earth, to worship Allah. So everything comes back to that center, Allah. And so it's not that I don't know, if you offend me. It's not that I don't know words that I can say to you that can really, it will hit below the belt. I know exactly what to say. But if I choose not to say it, it's because I fear Allah. But if that person then continues to disrespect me and overstep my boundaries, I'm out. Right? That's the ultimate place that you have to get to sometimes, is that I won't take it. I'm not going to sit here and take it. We either stay and we do this right, or we let each other go in peace. And the final point that I want to make today in terms of a sign that you may be disrespectful to your husband is if you criticize his family. Now I know, you're like, but Nafisa, you don't understand that mother-in-law. Let me tell you, irregardless of how your mother-in-law or your father-in-law are, please, keep your opinions about them to yourself. On no occasion should you insult your mother-in-law or father-in-law in front of your husband. I know, you're thinking all these things in your head, but some things need to stay in your head. It's part of wisdom not to always speak everything you see. Because when you do that, they are his parents at the end of the day. And they raised him well enough for you to see him as good enough to marry. So this is not your counseling session with your husband. It's not the time to talk about, oh, my mother-in-law, she's such a terrible woman. Oh, my father-in-law, he's the worst person in the world. Those are kind of things, if you need to talk about it in a way of seeking help or whatever, that you may speak about with your counselor, with your coach, with your therapist, people like that. Not to go to your husband and start cussing out his mother in front of him. It's highly disrespectful. Okay? If the mother-in-law is consistently disrespects you, it's for your husband to also stand up for you and let his mother know that it's not okay. But if he's the type of man that allow his mother to just call you out your name, treat you badly, then of course that's also wrong on his side. But on no occasion should you think that it's okay for you to do that. It's very, very disrespectful. I know mother-in-law, father-in-law, in-law situations are quite tricky ones to handle. But please don't do it. Please don't do it, because you have to think or take them as you would take your parents. I know you're not going to love them the way you love your mom and dad, but just kind of see them in that parental role, parental position, and know that they've become a part of your life because that's the man you chose. So as imperfect as they are, just don't insult them in front of your spouse. Now, if you're uncomfortable about something that they are doing, can you discuss it with your spouse? Absolutely, yes. I'm not saying don't ever say anything, that isn't good about your in-laws. If your in-laws are crossing certain boundaries they shouldn't be crossing, or they're making you feel uncomfortable in some kind of a way, you can talk about it in a very gentle way. But just cussing your spouse out or cussing his parents out in front of him, to me, it's a no-no. Don't do it, okay? No matter what the situation is, just don't do it. His parents are his parents. Speak about them with respect, with honor, with understanding. And if there's ever issues between you guys, then just talk to your husband about it in a very gentle way, in a way that comes across that you're seeking solutions, and pick your words very, very carefully. Don't just go to your husband and say whatever, because when he begins to sense that you are against his mom and dad, it's going to be a problem for you, And what can you do? He has responsibility that he has to fulfill over his parents, and he should honor his parents as well. So he can't allow you to disrespect his parents. And a lot of the times, if you come about it in a very aggressive tone and a very insulting kind of way, even if you're right, he will never agree that you're right, even if it's very obvious that you're right. Why? Just because of the way you did it, right? So sometimes it's not what we do, is how it's done that kind of affects our relationships. So that is the final sign that I really want to talk about, that if something you're doing, stop insulting your in-laws. Like, seriously stop it, and just have a genuinely good conversation coming from a place of seeking solution with your husband about, okay, I'm uncomfortable with this, is it possible you can talk to mom about this thing and that thing, I kind of felt this kind of a way. And inshallah, if he's man enough, he will handle it. The two of you can kind of discuss, explore different ways to kind of handle the situation versus you just cussing her out straight up. I know some other in-laws are very, very bad, but I just think when you insult your parents' in-laws, you're hitting below the belt, and it's not okay. Don't do it. All right, my lovelies, I hope you have enjoyed today's video. I hope it has been quite interesting. The light is looking hazy, so I hope you guys are seeing me all right. And inshallah, guys, I will speak to you guys in my next video. By the way, if you haven't seen this video that I made this week, then definitely make sure you check out that video as well. And I will see you guys over there, inshallah. Asalaumualaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And also don't forget to thumbs up this video and share it with all of the sisters all over the world, so that they too know where not to cross boundaries when it comes to their husbands.